This is a bonus episode of the Death to Tyrants podcast.
The crushing weight of the tyrant's passage had left nothing unmarked.
You get split in fucking half, but I call him the hologram wrath. But I am the center inside the placenta of math. You clash with cyanide gas and die fast. Rhythmical equivalent of solids, liquids, and gas. We smash your sinus with the power of Lord Titus. But I am the virus inside of the iris of Cyrus.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back. Once again, we've got another bonus episode in the month of March. This is the Death to Tyrants podcast. And as always, I'm your host and humble narrator, Buck Johnson. Now, for those of you listening who are always listening to this show, you're going to say, what did we do to deserve a second bonus episode in the month of March? I mean, usually we get one a month. The answer to that is we're going through times like no one's ever witnessed in their entire life, basically. So I've got a lot of ideas and a lot of guests I want to basically have on the show to discuss the craziness surrounding this coronavirus pandemic. And I told you guys a couple of weeks ago, when I attack this thing over the next foreseeable future, basically at this point, I want to get unique perspectives on it. And I want to, if you want to hear, hey, just stay home, damn it, or basically, the flu's worse than this. If you want to hear conventional talking points, this is the wrong podcast. You can turn on CNN, MSNBC, or Fox and probably get something like that, or maybe just read your Facebook feed. I'm doing this stuff because I want to get deeper and give more unique angles on the entire thing because it's affecting people obviously across the globe. And so one of the personal relationships and the connections I have in my own personal life is that of professional musicians. And so I reached out to two friends who both front bands and have done so for multiple decades at this point. And I've known both of these guys for multiple decades. And that is Dale Watson and Big Sandy, aka Robert Williams. So I've got them both on here today, and I wanted to talk to them and get their perspective on how it's affecting them, basically. Not only as musicians, but Dale actually has recently purchased a bar in Memphis, Tennessee. And how would you like to have a brand new bar operating in a town like Memphis that you're trying to kind of build up a crowd and build this thing up, and then months into it, boom, you're shut down with no one allowed in the venue. So this is not to have them on and give the woe is me vibe by any means. Like I said, this is affecting people across the globe, and this happens to be people that I'm friends with. So I thought it'd be a unique perspective. If you're a touring musician and that's what you've done your entire life, basically, things like this bring it to a halt. And what happens during that time? Because it's not like you can say, well, you didn't prep for this, because no one prepped for having everything shut down. You can't even play a gig to 5 people at this point. So this is a unique situation, and I wanted to bring on 2 very unique voices and good friends of mine. Most of you probably know both of them. If you don't, I'll give you a quick intro. Big Sandy, aka Robert Williams, has been playing rockabilly music, Western swing, honky-tonk, basically since the 80s. And he's located in Southern California. He's been a fixture of the rockabilly music scene since the 80s, like I said. And he's known for his charismatic presentation, his humor, his great voice, his unique songwriting, and his wide array of styles within the roots music scene. And of course, if you Google Big Sandy, you'll figure that out. I don't even have to give some long dictated intro for him. He's my friend. I've known him for a long time. My other guest is Dale Watson, who's been a fixture in the authentic country music scene for, again, decades. And we're not talking big and rich and whatever flavor of the week Nashville floats out there. It's authentic hardcore country in the same vein as Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard, Conway Twitty, and so on. And again, Dale's done all kinds of stuff all across the globe. He's been in movies. He's been touring. Now, again, he owns a bar. And, things like this coronavirus pandemic affect these guys in some interesting ways. Yet they're both very optimistic as well in their worldview, and I appreciate that. Let me quit talking about them and let's actually talk to them. I'm honored to have them here. This is a first for me. I've got two friends that I've known for 20 years or more, and they're on the podcast. Welcome to Death to Tyrants, this bonus episode. I'm sorry it's got to be under these circumstances, but I'm glad to have them both. Dale Watson, Robert Williams, a.k.a. Big Sandy. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Hey, good to hear your voice, both of your voices, and yeah, good to be here too.
Wasn't it just a few short weeks ago? I think we were all in Memphis at Hernando's Hideaway, partying the nights away, and boy, have things changed.
Seems like such a different world, right?
Man, it's like you never know how things can change in this blink of an eye.
Yeah, it is a different world. So I want to get into this stuff with both of you guys. You both lead bands. You've both done it for decades now. Robert, we'll start with you if we can. For those of my listeners who don't know you already and don't love you already, tell them about who you are and what you do.
All right, yeah. So as you mentioned, my stage name is Big Sandy. I kind of slipped into that mode like in the late 80s. In 1988, started my band, Big Sandy and the Fire Right Trio, after having been in a few local bands out here in Southern California since earlier in the 80s. 88 is when we kind of started to get serious with it. And 1990, we all quit our jobs and went full time with the music. And most of the year we spent traveling around, across the country and around the world, playing, rockabilly, honky tonk, and mixed rhythm and blues in there. It's kind of a mix of Ameripolitan music.
Well said, and nice little plug for the Ameripolitan music.
Yeah, thank you.
And it's a good segue to you, Dale. Explain what you do and where you came from and all of that stuff for the listeners.
Yeah, Pasadena, Texas, where I grew up in the honky tonks, and I've pretty much been doing that ever since. And like Robert said, I met him when I was out in California, trying to make it out there, and I got my record deal there. So I've been doing this for 40 some years now, and now I travel the world the same way as Robert. And as you mentioned earlier, yeah, I've owned a couple of bars in the past in Texas, but now I only have the one in Memphis, Hernando's.
And that's got to be kind of a challenge on its own then, not only not playing music like you always do, but owning a somewhat, I guess you could call it a new bar in a sense. And you're trying to get it going, and everyone tells you now you can't have people in there.
Right. Yeah. It's just been, yeah, I wouldn't say it's devastating because I guess my music is my career that way has propped this up. But if it wasn't for my career that I've had, I would probably go under. Absolutely. I mean, I have applied for disaster relief, as a matter of fact, for the bar and for my LLC that owns the bar, and also I've told my band guys, I said, y'all need to file for the unemployment because they're about to do that stimulus package for that. Because my guys get paid, they were on salary. Of course, that stopped whenever I stopped making any kind of income. So yeah, so it's having a bar is I mean, if we get through this in the next month, I'll be able to make it. But if it goes more than that, I'm definitely going to need some help.
Robert, you're out in California, in Southern California. It's the whole state basically did the shelter in place there, correct?
We did. First, it started to happen like countywide in different areas. And then the governor made a statement. He never came out and said it was like an official mandate, but it was about as serious as I think he's going to make it for now. Just everybody, only essential businesses stay open. I guess by now everybody knows like the basic protocol, which is, kind of spread across the country and in different, in the various areas. Not everybody's taking it completely seriously. Some businesses are staying open under the radar, but for the most part, it seems to me that people are complying. Like when I have to go out to get supplies from my mother and my dad, bring stuff to my dad, I venture out into the world, and it seems like the Orange County, this is the area I live, that I remember And I know this is a horrible thing we're going through, but I think, wow, this is what it was like when I was growing up. And there's something about it that, to me, this might sound very wrong, but it's a little bit exciting because I know that some good things are going to come out of this. It's going to be very, very difficult, and it's going to be tough for a lot of us. But I think we can figure it out, and some of those good things that we come up with, I think, will stick.
Yeah, well said. And I definitely want to get into, I guess we can call it silver linings to all of this. Dale, you're in Memphis, and I know you go between Memphis and Austin. Is it basically the same there? Everything's shut down except essential businesses?
Yeah, quite frankly, I left Austin first last week because they were implementing all this stuff first. They were the first ones to shut down all the all my regular shows like at the Continental, the Broken Spoke, the Highball, Sea Boys, all them jobs disappeared in just one press conference. And so I said, wow, I'm going to go to Memphis where I can still play at my bar. And that's what I did. I came up here, and then it took another week for them to do it here in Memphis. So at least I got another week of work out of it before I had to shut it all down.
A mutual friend of ours, all of us, is Reverend Horton Heat. And
Sure.
He was pretty vocal about wanting to keep playing when this started. Now, in his defense, of course, none of us knew that it was going to be so crazy, so fast, where everything's basically closed. But even back then, he kind of wanted to do it not for his own fortunes and finances, but it was because of his band guys and the sound guys and his guitar techs. Being a front man like you both are, do you feel a certain responsibility to the guys that play with you in times like this?
Well, I'm sure Robert's going to say the same thing I am. Absolutely. These guys, with you all year long. And as for me, my guys are on salary. That's how I take it so serious. And that even when I'm here in Memphis doing what I got to do, they still get paid. But so, yeah, it means a lot, especially when you got guys that stick with you like that. Robert, I'll let you answer on your own. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead and answer your own.
Oh, okay. Well, like within the way things are set up in my band, it's they're not on salary. It's kind of like when we make a lot, we all get a lot, and in the tough times we all kind of share the difficult times. Every group is set up differently. But I do still worry about them because, like you said, they've dedicated their lives to what my vision is. Even though we're in it together, it's our thing, isn't it, Dale?
Right. I feel bad that I'm able to do these live streams and give myself a little bit of financial support that way. Of course, I'm doing it here in Memphis, so the band that's my normal band in Austin isn't able to do that. So that makes me I feel a little guilty on that regard. But at these times, man, it's just I invited them down here to be a part of it, but of course that's too hard to do. Uproot your family and everything.
And it's their decision. You shouldn't. Well, don't feel too bad, but I know in your heart that, of course, how can you not? But and within my group of guys that I work with, some some are okay for a while, and others aren't. And of course, just like any parent, you worry about the ones who maybe haven't completely planned ahead, or for whatever reason, their life circumstances are different. But everybody's very positive, and but in the meantime, I've been trying to think of other ways that we can make income and even share.
Share the wealth.
Well, not the wealth, but only just my share and my get them to share in my enthusiasm, and we need to all figure out for ourselves what we're going to do. But maybe part of that can be things that we do together.
Well, I have to add on that I've actually, because I have a CDL, I've actually entertained the fact because there's a big trucker shortage, and if this goes on till July, like they're talking about, I may have to do that,
What might we see then? Another Trucker Sessions record?
It may happen, yeah, exactly. Because it's if they keep on talking about past May, past June, and if it goes into July, this is be devastating.
Yeah, and Robert, you mentioned something, sometimes it gets cast upon musicians. Well, you didn't plan ahead for stuff like this, but it's hard to plan ahead for something. This is like something none of us have ever seen. It's not like you're an athlete and you go, well, in 10 years, I won't be playing the game, so I've got to have a retirement. Let's face it, Johnny Bush is still playing. Ray Price played up until he died. You guys can play till you're done, basically, with life. It's not like all musicians sit here and go, well, when I retire at age 65, here's my
even
cushion.
If you did do that, even if you had an IRA, it'd be worthless now.
yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
But like you said, Buck, no, we didn't, at least I didn't see this coming. As a matter of fact, I would have told somebody like that would ever happen. I'll tell you what, this is kind of really, it has really opened my eyes to never again say that could never happen. Anything could happen. Anything can happen. And who knows what will happen. I will never again look at somebody else's views and say, what are you talking about? What a nut. How in the world is that ever going to anything can happen? And I'm seeing that now. We would have never, beyond our wildest dreams, that we would be going through what we're going through right now.
Well, as we speak now, it's March 25th. We'll ask you first, Dale. So far, how many gigs have you had to cancel because of this?
I've seen a meme on Facebook. Well, we all seen these memes, but thought it was pretty funny. I had to cancel probably about at least 40 gigs for this, and I figured I saved myself $214 by not working. No, but no, truly. I mean, it's been. I mean, there was a $10,000 show, a festival we had to cancel, and things like that. There were anchor dates. There's shows all over, from California to Florida. My wedding is. I mean, we're still knocking on wood that everything will be at least open by May 1st, so I can me and Celine can get married at Sun Studios because they're closed right now. So but to answer your question, I've lost. You can count every day a gig. Yeah. So however many days we've been doing this, I've lost that many gigs.
And Robert, for you?
Well, I say, people, people have been asking me this, and it's a little bit difficult to give a true answer at this point. Like, with the shows that I would have had at home, plus the upcoming European tour, which isn't going to happen. It's probably about 30 so far, but it's such an open-ended thing. It's like, I don't know how many I lost. All of them.
Well,
that is true. I didn't think about that, Robert. You're right. I've lost the gigs up till this many days up till now, but I've actually had gigs in April and May cancel. So it's been, and everybody's moving it to September. So they're thinking they're not moving it to July or August.
Well, I saw the
or
first
even June
canceled for next year, and that really kind of this is just stopped me in my tracks. Like, oh my good Lord,
Wow.
we are actually considering postponing a Maripolitan because we normally do it in February. We plan on doing it in March, but it really does make you have to push things out because of the planning of it.
It's such an open-ended thing. In our band, we kind of have different views on not even talking political or anything, but just sort of different ways of looking at the same situation. Like Ashley sent us all, my guitar player Ashley Kingman sent us all a message of what's still on the books, what is not, the things that are definitely canceled, and other things down the line until the end of the year. And I just personally with him, I told him I can't really count on any of what's on the books for the rest of the year because we truly don't know. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope I'm but I'm trying to think worst case scenario. Okay, I'm not going to be able to play for the rest of the year. What else can I do? That's what I'm trying to focus on. If you can,
Sure.
get my opinion on that.
Yeah, well, both of you guys are extremely busy, and I know, Dale, since you have been living half the time, I suppose, in Memphis, a mutual friend of ours was telling me how crazy your schedule was back and forth. And Robert, I know you've been traveling. You guys travel constantly as well. What's it like to just be all of a sudden, you have nothing to do? Is it time for writing songs, or is it driving you crazy?
Oh man, I never have nothing to do. I mean, this house here. I helped. We all got a mutual friend, T. Jared Bona. He just moved to town, and I helped him move in today, and now I'm working on the house, and so that's what he said he's going to be doing, because he just moved into that new house, and he's going to be doing repairs over there. So I guess we get the honeydews.
Yeah. And Robert?
Well, this is a funny thing. I mean, it's not really literal, because, when we're on tour, of course, like Dale knows, or normally you play every day, every night you're out there doing it. You're doing it every night. And when you're not doing it, you're planning on doing it, working on things behind the scenes that are leading up to the doing it. But I've kind of have felt like I've been more busy during this so-called downtime, because like you said, there's so much to do, catch up on around the house that we never get to do because we're always gone. And also I've just been forcing myself to work on other things. I'm putting up a new website, so I'm trying to catch up with this technology that I used to be up on top of a decade ago. Now I can't figure it out. It's taken me, 5 days to figure out what it would have taken me an hour before. And I've been doing different podcasts and different live streams, like almost every night for different friends. And I like to prepare a little bit for that. And at least it's on your mind, so it's not like sitting around and doing nothing. And I've for the last record, the record that we just put out, that Freddie Fender tribute, that was like a total do-it-yourself thing. So I've been over here pasting up the sleeve covers and doing that. I've been just finding ways to keep myself busy, but in ways that will, hopefully lead to a little more income as this continues.
There's a lot of non-musicians obviously listening to this, and I want to paint a more clear picture for them as far as finances go for touring acts. Can you guys talk about, between playing gigs, selling merch at the gigs, and purchases and downloads on things like Spotify and iTunes, which one of those revenue streams is most lucrative?
Robert? Good deal. Oh, for me? Okay. Which is more just from the merch angle?
Just from any angle, because a lot of people are going to think, well, if you don't have to tour, you can still sit home and you've got downloads coming in.
I make most of my money from the shows. That's how I make our money. That's a direct thing. I do this and I get this for it. It's a direct exchange. And I really like that. We haven't been set up for, we're just, I don't know why. We haven't been set up for online sales. Other people have been selling and making money off of our stuff. But so during this time, I'm going to change that. I'm kind of taking the reins in my hand, taking the bull by the horns, and kind of changing that situation. So I've been working on that. But up till now, I don't make any, money from online sales or anything. There's money that trickles in from Spotify plays, but people have posted some things about how ridiculously small of an amount you get for each play. But it does add up if you're even somewhat known, but not a whole lot. If people knew what we actually make doing this, I think they would be shocked. They would be shocked.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'd echo what Robert said. It's the shows that make us the money. I mean, like I said, I really never worried about Hernando's, because I always had my music career to back up any shortcomings I'd have there. And then I kind of hoped, if something happened where I couldn't play, if I got a laryngitis or something and had to stop a week, because I'd still have to pay my guys at that point, and all the the bills that go on. I was hoping that my bar would take up the slack of that, but now all that's gone. So it's the shows that in the career wise will make the money. There's mailbox money, but it comes around not very much. It's changed through the years. I was lucky enough to be getting mailbox money back in early '80s, and it's what a difference. I only had like 4 songs out in '88, and I made more money on them 4 songs back then than I did in the whole albums I've had out in the '90s. Just because they pay the way they pay you now.
Right.
Well, because the industry has changed so much. It's a different game now, and basically, we're getting screwed. But you just figure out another way to do it. To do.
Well, that's why you got to play so much. You got to get out there and perform, and you said the merchandise does help. But that's not a lot of times. You never can have enough merchandise on carrying along with you. So, but again, you don't sell the merchandise really unless you go out you're going out doing a show.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
There was a lot of concerns, of course, after the terrorists incidents, and let's see, it was Eagles of Death Metal, I believe, in France, and then, of course, the stuff in Las Vegas at that quote-unquote country festival that happened. And I think for the most part, people still love to go see live music, and they kind of allow for, look, if you get in a large area with a bunch of people, there's always some sort of risk. Are either of you concerned that any type of permanent effect that will be had on live music and people going to see live shows after this? Dale, I'll let you go first.
Absolutely not. No, not the crowd. It's the music crowd is just that. I don't think there's going to be any difference in our type of music, but I can see where sometimes you play these listening rooms where they don't have a dance floor, and I could probably see for a while that they'll distance tables. Even when they had the warning about they were going to restrict the number of people that can go to a bar. They first put it down to 50. So and at Hernando's we spaced out enough tables, 6 feet apart, where 50 people could sit comfortably and sit apart. And then they went to 10, so that pretty much shut us down. But we still, even at the bar, we spaced out 10 booths or 10 stools, so we can have 10 people there. And then they said nobody. But I think it's probably going to go back that way when they say, okay, you can go out, but only in groups of 10. Okay, now you can go out, but only in groups of 50. I think it's probably going to go back in the way it started.
Okay, so you think it's going to ease back into it that way in the reverse?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Robert, is there any concern on your part that things will change permanently for crowds and going to shows and whatnot?
Well, I think things have changed and will continue to change. Yes, I have no concern over it because I'm going to do it. I have to do it. And I don't think the people, like Dale said, the people who come out to see bands like ourselves, I don't think they're that worried about it. I don't know if it's a different generation or what. I don't, and I don't, as far as you talk about, some of that situation in Vegas, I never felt any fear after that going to festivals. That didn't even enter my mind. You just do what you got to do, and
I just think we're all going to be more aware. We're all aware than we were before. I mean, even oddly enough, I found myself grabbing a plastic bag and putting it on my hand when I went to the gas pump, which I never would have thought of that. I thought, what the hell am I doing? It was just, I guess, second nature whenever you hear all this stuff. And so even I've just become more aware because this feels like there's a little bit of tension in the air. I feel like we can slip into some sort of a defend your castle mode at any moment. It feels like, and so after this, I think it's going to take a little while just to shake that, but hopefully it won't be permanent.
Robert, has that vibe been felt out in Southern California at all? Is there tension?
Not. It's not something you can feel in the air or anything. But when you stop and think about it, I think it is, in a certain part of people's minds. And I think it has. There's been something happening for a while. I think even since Y2K, there's been. I think the world has changed since then in ways that maybe you've talked about or have at least thought about.
Well, this is worse than 9/11. This is worse than what. This is something that's so globally economically devastating that I mean I remember I went down to Houston to pick up my parents right after well, it wasn't Katrina, it was a hurricane after that hit Houston, and I went to grab them, get them to safety, take them to Austin, and it took me 8 hours to get back from Houston to Austin because of the traffic and the all the people were going crazy. It was like Armageddon. I was lucky enough to get to a gas pump that had the last gas going out of town, and people were fighting, and you heard gunshots. It was and on my way to Memphis, I kept stopping at some places to try to get some some supplies, just like water and things, but a lot of them were sold out, even these little towns. And like I was saying, that there was just a feel on that entire trip up that, man, people aren't handling this very well at all.
Have fans been reaching out to you guys at all via social media or I guess regular email or anything like that, Robert?
People have been amazing in a very touching way. And it's funny how to. I'm not sure how to feel about it, but I tell you what, man, they're doing it from their heart. People have sent donations just out of the blue, like just little things that just mean a whole hell of a lot. Just kind of that are encouraging, and it kind of renews your faith in human spirit. Like I got a message the other day. I've been setting up, like I said, I did the merch website, and I kind of accidentally went live for a little bit, and I don't know what people saw, but I got a message from somebody who said, like, "Hey, what kind of payment do you accept?" And I thought he meant for merch. Or I said, "Why? What are you looking to buy?" He said, "No, Big Sandy, I just appreciate all the music you've done over the year. I know this is very tough times. I just want to send you something." And this was a kid, some little like a rockabilly teenager guy, and he sent me his like a $10, and I'm thinking, what
That's
a
cool.
sweet gesture,
Yeah,
it just touched my heart.
Dale, have you experienced that as well?
Go ahead, Dale.
No, I was just agreeing, echoing the same thing. I mean, that's absolutely some in that Venmo and PayPal that you do whenever you do these live streams. Sometimes they'll leave a message saying, I'm thinking, was this for the the chicken bingo thing, or was this for? They go, no, it's just because of this virus and you being down. It's just money, So yeah, that's definitely the fans have been the best, and that makes me feel good about the world whenever you see people just call in and say, "Hey, I'm glad to see you're okay. Hang in there."
Yeah, it's funny on sometimes social media is where it gets you kind of fed up with the world, and you think, God, some of these people I thought I knew so well are so angry and upset at the world, and then something really bad actually happens, and people actually donate more than you would have thought. Dale, you've been doing the live broadcasts. Are you doing them with a band? Are you going to do them by yourself? How's that working? And are you doing it at Hernando's?
With band. I have been doing a band, and because I own Hernando's,
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I got, I got them chickens out there, so I gotta go there every day and feed the chickens, So
for those
I'm
listening,
there.
Real quick, Dale, explain the chicken stuff, because of course all of us know about it, but there's listeners going, why does he keep talking about chickens?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I do this thing called a chicken bingo, chicken poop bingo. I'll put it nice on it, and it's for a poultry $2 donation, you get a ticket and if a number, and if it's the same number that the chicken picks in a chicken picking way, then you've won over $100. So I've done that over the internet here, and it's went over really well. And so I just do it right there at Hernando's, and I'm planning on doing a live recording session at my studio here in Memphis. And I'm going to use guys. I'm going to use, as a matter of fact, T's going to be on my first one here on Friday.
Excellent. Robert, have you considered doing live shows or anything like that? And would you do it with the guys, or would it just be you? Or
Well, I already tried to initiate that. I thought of that right off the bat, and not everybody was comfortable with leaving their homes. But what I have been doing is I had been a guest a few times already on another on a podcast, the West Coast Ramble. This past weekend, they did their first live stream via Facebook, with connecting artists from across the country in their own, remote locations, just going from one to the next. And it worked out really well. And we did the usual thing that everybody's doing with the Venmo and the PayPal little advertisement there. And the people really, people were beautiful. They chipped in, and it was fun to do. It was a hell of a lot of fun, but also it was just so sweet how people they found it entertaining, and they said, "Thank you for doing this. It gets our mind off of these things that are going on." And yeah, it was good to see people band together and do that. To offer their help, and yeah, we're doing that again this week.
Hey, one thing, Robert, I would you're probably already doing it. I haven't been up on. Celine's always following your live stuff, but if you do one just for if you do one for a European slot, because we'll think of the time zone. Do one for them just for Europeans, where of course the North American can join in, but that's one thing that we have found out, that you think this is America's problem, and you could blame blame whoever. You blame the Democrats, blame the Republicans, blame Trump, blame whoever. But it's a worldwide thing. It's nobody over here's problem, or ain't nobody over here who caused it. It's a worldwide thing.
I want to ask both of you this, and we'll start with you, Dale. What aspect of playing for people live in person across the world really do you miss the most?
Oh yeah, just the one-on-one, because I always like smaller smaller crowds anyway. in shows, when it gets over 500 people or even 400 people, you start to detach a little bit, and then you start doing your show for yourself. It's really hard for me to do a show without people communicating me, because I don't go by a set list, and I like it when people say, "Hey, play Nashville Rash. Hey, play Alive When I Drink." So it means a lot to me, and it does. It's a huge whole of just doing. One thing about the live streams, they're only one way, except I have to say, the way I'm doing the chicken thing on Sundays, we have when the winner, they get the number beforehand, and then they know what it is, and they know which round it is, and we ask them to call me, and they call in, and we put them on speakerphone, and we do the whole pocket thing. We ask them what they're going to do with the money and where are they from, where are they at. So that, for me, that's my way of staying in touch, because you do miss that personal touch between the fans. And
Robert?
Well, my answer wouldn't be too much different than Dale's. There's the personal interaction. There's just something there's a certain magic in the response you get from people and feeding off of that. And I don't work off of the set list. I just kind of react to the crowd and call them out as we go, or they'll call the songs out. I like the little in between song banter and joking with people and responding to what they're saying or what I hear across the room. I miss that. It's and I've been watching a lot of other people's live streams, and I think that's beautiful to see it just all over social media. All these people going live, spreading their music. I think it's been a beautiful thing. But it's funny to be watching it and not. Wait a minute! It feels weird not to clap after. I can click on a button with that little hand clapping symbol, but it's not the same.
Right.
You know how much I missed the clap. So I was I downloaded an applause sound effect. So after I do a song, I'd hit that just for me.
That's awesome.
You got to get if you can just download someone yelling out, Nashville Rash or something like that.
Actually, I also downloaded the boo.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, so I could be real.
Well, Robert, you mentioned it earlier, and I want to leave on a high note here with this. What is a silver lining that you think we could see from this kind of tragic time in our history, really?
I think there are several silver linings. There's an immediate silver lining that I'm feeling right now. Just like Dale said, just the fact that we're all in this together and figuring it out together. None of us has ever been through this before, and we're figuring it out in real time. And I think a lot of people are turning to the music, and that's a good thing. Not getting caught up in these arguments. Of course, that's still going on, but it's not as prominent as it had started to become. This little back and forth thing. People are sharing music with each other. I'm seeing some good quality posts, some encouraging, uplifting thing, and it's not just empty things. People are getting a little deeper, I think, with some of the things they're posting. Even just you don't just posting a song that somebody hasn't heard before. Now people are actually letting me know, thank you so much, like sending private messages in response to that. Never got that before. I've had more actual telephone conversations over the last week and a half than I have had in the last decade or two.
Mm-hmm.
People are talking to each other again. They're communicating in a more real way, I think. And I think out of all this this thing that the bands are doing and artists are doing to go live, and we're figuring out new ways to get our music out around the world. And I know some of that technology, a lot of it, all of it has been there already. But sometimes when you're out there gigging every night, you don't have time to sit down and figure it all out. I have time for that now. And it's exciting to me. I wish this was not going on, but I will come out of this a better person.
Well put, Dale.
I agree with that. I mean, it pretty much boils down to on a personal level. I mean, it's the round to it. I finally, this is one big round to it. How you keep on saying, well, I'm going to do that when I get around to it. And there's a gigantic round to it. And so I said, I was going to work on my Memphis studio and learn the ins and outs and how this thing runs. And so I've done that. I've come down here and, woodshedded on that and took care of some chores and got on that old car. I got a 57 Fairlane and a 66 Edsel I've been messing with. So it's a big round to it for me. That's the silver lining on that. But as far as worldwide, I think the silver lining is probably going to be that we see that we need to get off the dependency of foreign manufacturing and start being independent. I think it's going to be the silver lining in all of this. And that's just my opinion, of course, but I think that's going to be the gigantic silver lining of all this happening.
Well, before
Buck's silver lining is the complete breakdown of society as we know it, and the restructuring,
and the reemergence of a libertarian society out of all of this.
That's right. That's good to say.
Just to address that from the outside, or not without anything completely serious, but I need to listen more to this podcast. I'll certainly listen to this episode.
This one's going to be the best one.
But sometimes people think it's maybe like a exercise in like a theoretical sort of thing, But you see that anything could happen, and there might be a restructuring of things going on that could happen, and it will be interesting to see what'll happen and who's sort of mentally prepared for it, and who. Yeah, we'll see what rises to the top,
Well, obviously, before I let you guys go, we've talked about Venmo and PayPal and all of this. I want both of you to be able to advertise really anything you want. If you got new stuff coming out, your website that you now have improved, Robert. So Dale, go first and let the people have it.
Well, just tune in on my Facebook page on the Dale Watson. I would say I tried to get Dale Watson on the Facebook page, but there was an FBI director that had that. So I guess so.
Wow.
Yeah. So for a while there, I started getting his emails, but which were pretty interesting. But anyway, the Dale Watson on Facebook, and you can just kind of monitor us there, what we're going to be doing for while this is all happening.
And Robert, go ahead.
Okay. Everything that I'm setting up will be channeled through bigsandy.net. And I was able to get bigsandy.com years ago, myself. But anyway, yeah, just BigSandy.net and everything, all these other side projects, all these other the merchandise pages and everything will be through that. And I'm looking forward to a day where we don't have to be out there like telling people, this is my PayPal, this is my Venmo. What I love is I do this for you. You know, I play this music. You come out to my show, you give me a little money in exchange, and I like that.
Careful,
I think it's
Robert. There's a digital dollars they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to the day when all three of us are back at Hernando's drinking some tequila. And
well, now we're talking about something that's truly important there.
Yes. Exactly.
Hey, that is, you know what? That is also a silver lining, Buck, is that if you're going to be down and can't do anything, it's nice to have your own bar.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And they won't kick you out.
Nope.
All right, Dale Watson, Robert Williams, a.k.a. Big Sandy, thank you both so much for being here today on Death to Tyrants.
Yeah, y'all hang in there, and thanks a lot. It's great talking to you.
Good to cross paths with both of you, my friends. All
right, I hope you guys enjoyed that interview with my two friends, Dale Watson, Big Sandy. And if you weren't familiar with their music, you know, at this point, it's 2020. I don't really need to dictate to you how to go find them. Type in on the Google machine, Dale Watson. Type in Big Sandy and his Fly Right Boys, and you will find them from there. And I think you'll be impressed. Both of them are extremely charismatic, great frontmen, and I appreciated that they were both willing to do this podcast. Thank you, guys. So, as always, I've got to give you my list of places to find me. Facebook.com/Death to Tyrants podcast. Follow me on Twitter @BuckRebel, BuckRebel. You know, I've got my own Patreon page, patreon.com/Death to Tyrants. If you are willing to give a penny, I will take it. And I promise you, as always, every cent I make from that Patreon page goes right back into this show. I realize times are hard. Please do not feel pressured. Let's see, where do we go from here? Stay safe, you guys. If you're sheltered in place, well, make of it what you can. And I will see you guys next week. Take it easy.
You get split in fucking half, till I call him the hologram brass. But I am the center inside the placenta of math. You clash with cyanide gas and die fast. Rhythmical equivalent of solids, liquid and gas. We smash your sinus with the power of Lord Titus. But I am the virus inside of the iris of Cyrus.
Like the sound of the Death to Tyrants podcast? Our audio production is provided by Podsworth Media. Check them out at podsworth.com.